Welcome back to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 NBA games that happened last night. The first is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. Denver won 117-85, and although Denver has had a good year and will likely finish at least in the playoffs in the West, it seemed like a kind of a demoralizing loss. The last 2 games for the Lakers and losses to the Nuggets and to the Magic, it just kind of seemed like there wasn't a lot of energy. There were a couple times LeBron made a pass. I don't know if it was in the second or the third quarter. One that kind of stuck out to me. He made a pass that I think it was JaVale McGee. It was intended to be a lob to JaVale, and JaVale didn't jump or know that it was coming or something along those lines, sort of. And LeBron, it was right before LeBron was about to come into the game. It was under the set media timeout for that time. Let's just say that it was under the 6-minute media timeout. So as soon as there was a dead ball, LeBron knew that he was going to come out. But it wasn't the 6-minute like in the first quarter. It was right before. I think it was right before the half when he knew that he was going to come out for the half. You know what? I don't know when the fuck it was, but essentially LeBron knew that he was going to come out and threw this pass, and it was a turnover. And LeBron had 4 turnovers last night. Holy crap. And was negative 23 and plus minus. But he just he threw the pass and didn't really go back on defense. And his just overall attitude was sort of, the body language was really bad. He was 5 of 15 last night, 33% from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. The entire Lakers team shot the ball horrible from 3. They were 5 of 35, 14% from three-point range. LeBron only had 14 points, 7 rebounds, only 2 assists. I would wager that this was probably the worst game that LeBron has played. I know there was one game last year where he still had over 10 points, but a game similar to this where he scored in the mid-teens and shot the ball horrible and didn't have very many assists, and 7 rebounds is fine, but it's definitely his worst game of the season, I think, and I just said it's definitely the worst game of the season, I think. Is it definitely or I think? Those are very opposite things. I hate it when people say stuff like that. I don't hate it, and I just did it. Anyways, one of LeBron's worst games in the last 2 years. Kyle Kuzma had 21 and led the way for them. He looked really good. He shot the ball horrible from three-point range, too. It was 1 of 7. But 9 of 15 from the field, was scoring inside really well, and just kind of used an array of different shots to score. He's becoming a really, really complete scorer. I know he's just a second-year player in the NBA, but last year I think I didn't watch a ton of Lakers games, but he was kind of a shooter and a driver, but he's scoring in a number of different ways. Brandon Ingram played pretty bad to 14 points. Lonzo Ball had 7 points. JaVale McGee only had 2, but had four blocks. Continues to be really good for them around the rim. Michael Beasley played, it wasn't just garbage minutes. He played 12 minutes, but played pretty well in the 12 minutes for the most part. He had 8 points and shot 42% from the field. Had a pretty nice dunk on a drive on, I don't remember who it was for the Nuggets, but Josh Hart has really, really struggled. He played 20 minutes last night and had 4 points, and I know that in the last 2 games, he hasn't even scored. He was 0 of 4 from 3. Josh Hart early in the season got a lot of praise, I think, for shooting the ball well and being one of the only consistent, reliable shooters on the Lakers. And in the last 5 games, he has not been that at all. So it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what kind of, if he starts to enter the trade talks along with really anybody other than LeBron James is liable to be traded or possibly could be traded on this team. But maybe if Josh Hart continues to not perform very well, that they'll start to throw his name in there, because I know from the very beginning, just in a lot of the like the play-by-play and commentary during the games, he's been a name that has been pretty consistently talked about as, he's probably their best. Well, maybe Kuzma. I think Kuzma is probably their best all-around shooter, but Josh Hart is probably their best three-point. Well, Contavious Caldwell-Pope is their best three-point shooter. I'm not sure about percentages this year, but I think Contavious Caldwell-Pope is known as a three-point shooter more so than Josh Hart, and he's obviously been in the league a little longer, so he's got a little more time to establish some sort of reputation or whatever. But the Denver Nuggets looked pretty good last night. The Lakers were really, really bad. What was the offensive rebound? I remember at one point the announcers for the Lakers just kept talking about how the Lakers were getting destroyed on the offensive glass, or just on the glass in general. So the Nuggets had 60 rebounds and the Lakers had 39 rebounds. That doesn't seem crazy, but I mean, they definitely got their ass kicked in rebounding. 60 rebounds, I would imagine, is quite a few for a game. They had Paul Millsap had 11, Mason Plumlee had 10, Torrey Craig, who's a guard, had 8, Jokic had 7, Trey Lyles off the bench had 9, and a couple guys with 4 and 3, and it seems like they just spread it around really well. They spread their scoring around really well, too. Jamal Murray had 20. Malik Beasley had 20 off the bench. Mason Plumlee off the bench had 10. Hernan Gomez had 12 and looked really good. He shoots the ball well. He just kind of is a really good. He's a great little scoring role player that's not going to really do too much, but can also throw in 4 rebounds, a couple assists. Didn't shoot. He only took 1 3. The 3 that he took was like a pass that went past the intended target and was about to fall. It was about to go out of bounds, and he saved it and put up a 3. I think it was near the end of the shot clock. But I think overall, and this is a team. This was the Nuggets without Gary Harris, and I think overall, I hadn't watched a ton of Nuggets games. But what kind of stood out to me was just they've got a lot of, like, Torrey Craig's really not, and none of these guys are like household names really, and they're kind of like Monte Morris is just a small little guard, and Trey Lyles can shoot it a little way better than Mason Plumlee, because he took 4 threes and Mason Plumlee has taken like 20 threes in his career, but a lot of these guys just sort of seem interchangeable. Paul Millsap is still playing really, really well. I'm not sure how old Paul Millsap is. You know what? I can find out. Paul Millsap was born in 1985, which would make him, in his mid-30s? 85, 95, 05, 15, 33. Depending on when his birthday is. Holy shit, it says the age right there. His birth date is right above his age on this player bio thingy, and I just wanted to do a little simple math. But Paul Millsap is still playing really well. The other game that I watched was another team that is kind of the Memphis Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors. The Memphis Grizzlies they remind me of the Nuggets a little bit. They've got, Jokic is kind of like Gasol in a lot of ways. They're very similar players, big guys that have really great footwork for how big they are and shoot the ball really well from outside and have a great post-up game. They're both great passers. They can handle the ball a little bit, but don't like overdo it, kind of like in the way that like maybe Boogie Cousins does, or even the way that like Anthony Davis, I think, handles the ball maybe a little bit too much for being his size, and I just think he'd be better used catching it on the block and facing, just more of these guys who maybe overdo the stretch five, what is now a stretch five, but they have other pieces the Grizzlies do that, Garrett Temple just kind of reminds me of the Nuggets starting point guard Murray, and he's their shooting guard, but Mike Conley Jr., I didn't realize that Mike Conley Jr. only played 12 games last year. He played 12 games, and I think the Grizzlies won 20 games last year. And on Sunday, they were in first in the West, which is, it's early. They're 12-8, but this team, they've got a lot of same kind of thing as the Nuggets. They've got a lot of interchangeable, just kind of non-household name guys. Kyle Anderson, who played at UCLA and spent his first couple of years playing with the Spurs under Popovich, is just a really versatile, 6'6", 6'7", maybe 6'8", small forward that he's not going to overwhelm you athletically, but is really smart and just plays under control. He had 13 points last night on 6 of 8 shooting, only took 1 3 and missed it, but doesn't. Just a lot of guys that just don't overdo it, and are really, I guess, just like level-headed people, sort of in general. I don't know who JaMychal is. That JaMychal? That's an interesting way of spelling JaMychal, or Michael, I guess. JaMychal Green had 13 points, 5 of 9 shooting, 55% from the field, 7 rebounds. Shelvin Mack came in and made a couple nice shots, a couple of floaters in the lane, and drew a couple fouls. He shot 62% from the field, had 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. That's like exactly what you want your backup point guard to do. Come in and play 23 minutes, only turn the ball over once, maybe, hopefully 0 times. Caspi came in and hit a couple shots, drew a couple technicals, I believe, or drew 1 technical for sure. But Jaren Jackson is a big reason why I was interested in watching this game. To watch the Raptors too, but Jackson really didn't play very much. He only played 18 minutes because he was in foul trouble. I think he ended up with 5 personal fouls, but got 2 like right off the bat. So it was kind of a disappointing game for him. But the Memphis Grizzlies, they lost. That's right. The Raptors played really well. Kawhi Leonard is just a really, really solid player. So the Raptors won 122-114. Kawhi Leonard had 17 points on 5 of 11 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, 1 block. Not overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination. Kyle Lowry led them in scoring, 24 points on 57% shooting, 5 of 8 from 3, 62%, which is really good. 6 assists, only 3 turnovers. So there's that 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio that you want. Their whole starting lineup was positive and plus minus. They got double figures from everyone in the starting lineup. Danny Green had 14. Serge Ibaka had 16. Siakam, who plays, I really like Siakam. He improved so much over the offseason. I remember him being just kind of lanky and not really a great ball handler, and was very limited. And he doesn't shoot. He's just more of a driver and a slasher, but he's really effective for them. Valanciunas is now I think Jonas Valanciunas was starting at one point in the year. Let's see, did they replace Siakam with him and then move Ibaka to the center? I think that's what they did. OG Anunoby, a lot of these guys, the Raptors are I guess kind of similar to maybe I'm finding a theme. The Grizzlies and the Nuggets and the Raptors, all teams that won last night, a lot of interchangeable parts. Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka, OG Anunoby, they all look like the same person, kind of. They're just kind of all the same with little variations to them. 6'7" to 6'10", athletic guys that aren't going to overwhelm you with their shooting ability, but can shoot it when needed to, and great slashers, great defenders. They're going to play hard. CJ Miles came in and played well off the bench. Him and Fred VanVleet play really well off the bench, and spare Lowry, 21 minutes for VanVleet, who plays a little bit with Lowry, and CJ Miles only played 5 minutes. But then Dion Wright is essentially, he's somewhere in between, probably somewhere in between Kawhi Leonard and Serge Ibaka. Like maybe, how tall is Dion Wright? 6'6", probably 6'5". Yeah, 6'5". So they got just a lot, again, household names. Like, nobody really outside of Toronto and the NBA world knows about OG Anunoby or Dion Wright or Pascal Siakam. They just kind of a bunch of random guys that play really well and play really hard and are really versatile. There were more games. The Hawks beat the Heat. I didn't watch, but I did see something about Dwayne Wade doing something about Dwayne Wade made a nice shot. Anytime that these old guys, it's weird to say that Dwayne Wade's old, but anytime these old guys do something that they used to do really, really well, that they can still do, they just can't still do as frequently as they used to be able to. So, they say that, like, when Vince Carter dunks, something about going into a time machine, or vintage D Wade, or I don't remember what the clickbait head title or the clickbait title was on the video, but I wonder if this was a good game, the Hawks and the Heat. I'm sure it was, maybe not. I don't know why I said that. I'm definitely not sure that it was. The Hawks and the Heat are both pretty terrible. 18 for Taurean Prince for the Hawks. Trae Young, 17. A couple. Ken Bazemore's not starting. They got the what? Huh? How is Kent Bazemore not starting at 2? Who's Kevin Huerter? Is this a rookie from Louisville? Rookie from Maryland? This white kid starting over Kent Bazemore? Huh? That's interesting. Dwayne Wade had 18 off the bench. Richardson had 22. Wayne Ellington 15. Hassan Whiteside had 11 and 10. These teams are so uninteresting to me. Now that I'm looking at all these rosters with that lens of kind of what I was talking about, with a lot of just versatile, like, household name or non-household names. I'm looking at all these rosters, and, like, James Johnson fits that mold, kind of. Justice Winslow, Derek Jones Jr. I mean, I guess there's only 3 on that team, and the other teams that I was talking about had like 4 or 5 or 6 of them. I'm not all that interested in the Hawks and the Heat. The Knicks and the Pistons played last night too. Griffin had 30 points. I don't care. I don't care at all. The Pistons are pretty much garbage, in my opinion. They've got 2 big guys that put up numbers, and that's about it. DeAndre Drummond had 6 points, but 14 rebounds. Reggie Jackson is a pretty mediocre point guard. I don't know. These teams don't interest me. A lot of these teams in the East don't. Enes Kanter is the most interesting person on the Knicks right now, and I think he's no good. He's, like, really solid fundamentally, and, like, has the potential to be pretty good, but I think he's just kind of like an airhead, sort of. I don't know. The Pacers and the Suns, another game that really doesn't interest me. Yeah, Booker is interesting to watch for the most part. But, TJ Warren, as I'm looking at the box score, TJ Warren is a name that I did not know before this season, but a guy that's playing well for the Suns. Seems to be their leading scorer on most nights, and was last night with 25 points on 55% shooting, was 2 of 6 from 3, 33%. But had 7 rebounds, no assists, no turnovers, a steal and a block. He plays really well for them. Trevor Ariza has underperformed, I think, for the most part this season. Only had 6 points last night and was 2 of 4 from 3, which is, I guess, what you want him in there for. 2 defensive rebounds, a steal, and a block. But he would have been so much more effective on the Rockets. I can't believe they paid that one dude. The Rockets paid, what's his name? Their center, whose name is escaping me. I can't believe they paid him so much fucking money and didn't sign Trevor Ariza. DeAndre Ayton played well, though. 18 points on 54% shooting. Made all his free throws. 12 rebounds. That's a good night for him. Mikal Bridges, who I was pretty high on going into this year. I thought he'd have a good rookie year, especially playing on a shit team like the Suns. Having a lot of opportunity to shoot the ball. They're young, though. 3 of those guys are, Devin Booker's probably in his 4th year, but they got 2 rookies, and then TJ Warren and Trevor Ariza. The other starters are both older, but Josh Jackson's young coming off the bench. But then you got Jamal Crawford, who's old as hell and still getting buckets. Came in and played 22 minutes and had 12 points on 55% shooting and 2 of 3 from 3. Had 4 assists and no turnovers. Jamal Crawford couldn't be a more ideal 6th man. Him and Lou Williams and James Harden when he was a 6th man. I think James Harden would have had, I don't know, he just won an MVP, but I think he would have had a much better, more successful career had he just, that kind of goes without saying, that Thunder team with Serge Ibaka, Durant, Westbrook, and Harden could have been historic had they not broken up. But I think he would have been more effective. He just would have won more if he came off the bench and wasn't so. Fuck it. And who was the other 6th man? Manu Ginobili. Those are like the 3 ideal, prolific 6th man guys that can just come in and that's what Carmelo Anthony should have been. Just to come in and do a bunch of scoring in the second unit and just be cool with it and contribute to a winning team. But Jamal Crawford, I don't think Jamal Crawford has won a championship, and I hope he doesn't because he went to Michigan. But he's been great in the NBA. I kind of do want him to win a championship. But Manu Ginobili obviously won championships because he said, oh man, I could just hang out here and play just as much as the starters and finish the game with the starters and make a great living just winning championships here in San Antonio. Is Victor Oladipo still out? Yeah, he is. Wow. The Pacers are winning games without Victor Oladipo. The Suns suck. But they're getting great contributions from Bogdanovich, and Miles Turner is playing well, although I think out of all the good centers in the league, he's probably the worst good center in the league. Okay. What am I at here? Somewhere around 24 minutes, maybe, something like that. Maybe a little under 23 and a half. I think I'm about to, I'm going to call it a night. What do you guys think? Should I call it a night? Yeah, I'm calling it a night. Peace. Oh, wait. Michigan State played last night, and I didn't fucking watch it because I was watching NBA games. Was I watching NBA games? I didn't watch any games last night. I watched them all today. But I didn't watch the Michigan State game, and apparently they got beat by Louisville in the Big Ten ACC showdown or whatever the fuck it's called. That's disappointing. I have alarms, a notification set to tell me when Michigan State's going to play and to send me notifications, but I get so many fucking sports notifications, and now the Apple notifications group themselves by app, and I have so many sports notifications that I don't even look at any of them. I'm like numb to any notification on my phone now because I have so many of them. And I'm not really somebody that gets bothered by, I know there's certain people that don't set up notifications on their apps or don't want stuff popping up on their phone because it's distracting to them. But I think I've had so many for so long that I just am immune to them almost. So I don't even see when Michigan State's going to play. There's games on right now, actually, in the NBA. The Hawks and the Hornets are playing the 76ers, and I sound so fucking excited. The 76ers and the Knicks is a blowout. The Jazz and the Nets just started. The Mavericks and the Rockets are on at 8. Bulls Bucks is not all that interesting to me, although I do like watching Mr. Antetokounmpo. Spurs T-Wolves. Wizards Pelicans, I may watch that one. Cavs Thunder, nope. Magic Blazers, nope. Although the Magic have been fun to watch this year. Maybe I'll watch that one too. I think I'm going to go Wizards Pelicans, Magic Blazers, and maybe Clippers Suns, just because the Clippers are playing really well, and probably Spurs Bulls. I think those would be my 4. Nope. Bucks Bulls and Spurs T-Wolves. It's funny because the T-Wolves are basically the Bulls, and I did that completely on accident. They're basically the Bulls as of, when Derrick Rose was really, really good. Taj Gibson, and you know what? I don't have to explain it to you. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. So those are going to be the 5 that I try to get to for tomorrow. I hate it when there's this many games on. No, I don't, because nobody actually cares nobody's actually listening, but nobody cares if I just miss a game. I don't know why I hold myself to such a high standard, as if I have such a large following that people are going to be like, what the fuck? You didn't cover the Jazz Nets game. If you are saying that, just shut up, because I can do anything.